Part 57. After the divorce, the princess was forced to raise a sickly villain. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 561. The atmosphere in the hall was tense, filled with the aura of imminent rain. Fukang's eyes were solemn and he stared coldly at the palace maid who was being scolded outside the palace. Yuan Bao held a bamboo ruler and hit Ying'er's hand hard one after another. The force was so strong that every blow could cause heartbreaking wounds. Pain. Ying'er's face turned pale from the pain. After a few blows, her hands became visibly swollen and trembled uncontrollably. However, in front of His Majesty, Ying'er didn't even dare to cry, let alone retract her hands. The other palace residents were so horrified that they dared not breathe. Chu Qinghuang sat on the couch, her eyes falling on the sachet in her hand. After a while, she turned to look out the window. The palace has been peaceful for a while, but someone wants to be a monster again. The very small amount of musk was hidden in the sachet, and the smell was so light that it could be masked by the incense in the palace, so even she and Fukang rarely ignored it. If she hadn't had nothing to do, looked at the palace maids in the palace, noticed that Ying'er was slightly distracted, and heard her inner thoughts, I'm afraid this matter would not have been discovered for the time being. Chu Qinghuang's eyes were cold. The new young doctor from the Imperial Hospital? This is a very good identity. Taiyan Hospital is responsible for serving the royal family and is the person closest to the emperor. If you meet someone who knows nothing about medicine and poison, it is actually very easy to murder her. Of course, the consequences after the Dongchuang incident will be very serious. Seriously. No one is allowed to go out and publicize what happened today, Chu Qinghuang said calmly. Fukang, send someone to find out who the young doctor who just came from the Imperial Hospital is and find out his details. Fukang nodded, yes. No matter who it is, they are too impatient, Chu Qinghuang said indifferently. If you have families and dependents, take them all to prison. If you don't have any relatives, take them to the dark pavilion for questioning. All 10 torture methods will be used. Last time, I wanted to see if his backbone was as bold as his. Fukang's mood was suppressed, he pursed his lips in response, then turned around and walked out. Snap! The ruler fell down without letting go, and Yuan Bao said coldly, you all know the rules in the palace. When you serve His Majesty, you must be honest and peaceful. If you shouldn't have contact with people outside, don't contact them. You are not allowed to expose Changming. You can't bring anything from the outside in even if you take it out of the palace. If you don't remember these rules, should I be beaten? Ying'er's forehead was covered with cold sweat, her face was pale from the pain, her hands were swollen like steamed buns. She gritted her teeth and replied tremblingly, it should be beaten. This slave deserves to be beaten, and I will never again dare to commit a crime. This time, Your Majesty showed mercy and spared your life. If you do it next time, you won't be so lucky. Yuan Bao raised his hands and said, if you dare to do something you shouldn't do in the future, you will be dragged out directly, kill with a stick. Chu Qinghuang frowned slightly and said, stop. Yuan Bao stopped when he heard the sound, turned around, and said respectfully, Your Majesty, you are not even 50 yet. Ying'er still stretched out her hands and didn't dare to put them down. Her hands were congested and swollen, and her eyes were almost swollen from crying, but she didn't dare to make a sound. Do you know why you are being punished? Chu Qinghuang's voice was deep, there is musk in the sachet. If this sachet causes me to have a miscarriage, do you believe that Fukang will kill you alive? Ying'er was so frightened that she kowtowed, you deserve to die. I really don't know anything. Please be aware of it. Please be aware of it. Chu Qinghuang glanced at her and said, this time is a small punishment but a big warning. Please remember it well in the future. Ying'er nodded repeatedly, slave, I don't dare to do that anymore. Okay, Chu Qinghuang raised his hand, go down and apply the medicine. Yinger felt like she was being pardoned. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will never dare to do this again." "You guys go down too." Chu Ching Huang waved his hand. "If you don't want to die, keep your mouth shut. I don't want to kill anyone recently." The palace people bowed their eyebrows and bowed their eyes before leaving. After the divorce, the princess was forced to raise a sickly villain. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 562. Fukang quickly left and returned, walked to Chu Ching Huang, took the sachet in her hand. "Stay away from it." Chu Ching Huang said, "Have you asked someone to investigate?" "Yes." Fukang reached out and hugged her, his calm tone hiding suppressed emotional fluctuations. Fuying went. Chu Ching Huang reached out and touched his head. "Don't worry, no matter who wants to harm me, it will not be easy to succeed." "It's my fault." Fukang pursed his lips. "I was so careless that I didn't realize that the danger was right around me." "Damn it!" Chu Ching Huang snorted, "You are indeed careless." Fukang looked down at her. "Punish me." "How to punish?" "Eng twisted silk whip, 100 whips." Chu Ching Huang asked. "After the beating, are you still alive?" Fukang shook his head. "I can't die." "Even if you can't die, you will be seriously injured." "Does this mean you want me to take care of you?" Chu Ching Huang asked lightly. "Do you want to stay in Eng to recuperate, or do you want me to take care of you in Changming Palace?" Fukang was speechless. If he was really seriously injured, he would definitely have to stay in the dark pavilion. How could he let her take care of him? But now that she was pregnant, how could he safely let her out of his sight? "There is still a gap in Baimi, so don't blame yourself," Chu Ching Huang said calmly. "There are preparations for the wedding in the imperial city these 2 days, and the people who attacked me are just those few. You can tell with a little inspection, and there is no need to make a big fuss and make people panic." Fukang was silent and narrowed his eyes. Chu Ching Huang raised his hand and lifted his chin, looking at him casually. "Don't worry, don't be angry, try to deal with the child in my belly, no matter who it is, I will never let it go easily." Fukang reached out to pick her up and walked to the inner palace. "Let Chu Ling Chuan enter the palace. He has good medical skills and is careful and reliable. There is no need to worry about him being bribed." Chu Ching Huang lazily leaned on his shoulder. "Aren't you worried that he will gain favor and be directly brought into my harem?" Fukang lowered his head and bid her in dissatisfaction, gently without using any force, "If Nuan really wants to admit him into the harem, I have no objection. Have you thought about it?" "No." Fukang shook his head, his voice was steady and strong. "I would rather see you safe than having one more person in the harem." Chu Ching Huang smiled faintly and said nothing. Fukang's eyebrows softened a little, and she put Chu Ching Huang on the bed, knelt down on one knee and took off her shoes. "Have a good sleep, he should be here soon." "Huh?" Chu Ching Huang raised an eyebrow. "Have you already informed him?" Fukang nodded. "I don't trust the hospital. Although most of the imperial doctors are loyal, as long as 1 or 2 are bribed, the entire imperial hospital will not make people feel at ease." Chu King Huang's voice was light. "Before, I always felt that I had to be merciful, and I didn't need to take it to heart. But it's obvious that they don't agree with me." Fukang remained silent. "He wants to kill people now, wants to get rid of all the troubles, and let all those with evil intentions go to see the King of Hell in advance, so that he can no longer cause trouble around them." He had deployed one defense after another inside and outside Changming Palace, but in the end he was still negligent. Fukang Chu Ching Huang seemed to know what he was thinking. "Just do whatever you want, but since the palace maid just now has been punished, let her live. The other people involved, let them die quickly after finding out the truth." Fukang pursed his lips and hummed softly. His eyes fell on her eyebrows. Fukang lowered his head and kissed her face. "I will imprison him for the time being to accumulate blessings for the child." Chu Ching Huang smiled. raised a hand and hooked his neck. "I'll let you have some sex tonight." Fuqiang was stunned. "Relieve your anger," Chu Qing Huang said, "it's not good to hold it in your heart." Fuqiang frowned. What did Nuanuan say? Even if I have anger in my heart, I should vent it on those damned people. Yes, I know. Chu Qinghuang's tone became gentler, but you really don't want to. Fuqiang was suddenly speechless. He really wanted to, but her health didn't allow it for the time being, and since he was so derelict in his duties, he should go to the dark pavilion to receive punishment. Take care of me and take a bath tonight. If I see any bruises on your body that shouldn't appear, I will divorce you. Chu Qinghuang's voice was light, but full of toughness and irresistibility. Don't think that I have a bad temper. Okay, you can make trouble with Tai Sui. If you dare to disobey, you will definitely regret it. Fuqiang's expression changed. Although I am now the emperor's wife, I am still the commander of the Anj. If the commander neglects his duties, he should shoulder his own responsibilities. Nuan does not need to feel bad for me. I don't feel sorry for you, Chu Qinghuang said. It's just that you should know that if the queen's husband has scars on his body, it will affect his appearance and even fall out of favor. Fuqiang frowned, thinking about what kind of punishment could leave no scars on his body. His life was going too smoothly during this period, and he was so pampered that he could ignore hidden dangers at any time. His alertness was much lower than before, and he needed some pain to remind him of his duty as the commander of the Shadow Guard. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the princess was forced to raise a sickly villain. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 563. Unfortunately, Chu Qinghuang could clearly hear what Fuqiang was thinking. She even wanted to teach him a lesson herself. You can't listen to me no matter what you say, right? Is your mind so confused that it makes no sense? Pour me a cup of tea. Chu Qinghuang sat up and leaned against the bed. I feel a little uncomfortable. I don't know if it's because of the musk. Minjiao just walked in with freshly brewed tea. After hearing this, she immediately took out the teacup and poured tea. Fuqiang's expression changed. What's wrong with you? Upset. Chu Qinghuang frowned, unhappy. Fuqiang sat on the edge of the bed. Are you hungry? Chu Qinghuang shook his head. Minjiao quickly brought a cup of tea, and Fuqiang took it and blew it carefully. He took a sip first and tested the temperature before bringing it to Chu Qinghuang's mouth. Give me the tea you drank. Chu Qinghuang raised his eyebrows. Does it mean I drank your saliva? Fuqiang was silent for a moment and looked at her innocently. We have already kissed. Do you still dislike me in Nuanuan? It's not that I dislike it. Chu Qinghuang lowered his head and took a sip. I just thought this tea might be poisonous. Plop. Minjiao knelt down with a pale face. I don't dare, this slave. I beg your majesty to see clearly. As soon as the words fell, the inner hall suddenly fell into a strange silence. Fuqiang turned to look at her without saying a word, and for a moment he didn't know what to say. I was joking just now, it has nothing to do with you. Chu Qinghuang said calmly. Please step back first, there is no need to wait here for the time being. Yes. Minjiao retreated in cold sweat. Chu Qinghuang and Fuqiang looked at each other, then smiled in unison, and the depressing atmosphere gradually dissipated. Okay, it's just that little thing that made everyone frightened. Chu Qinghuang finished drinking tea and patted his head. Except for the culprit behind this matter, I don't want to pursue anyone else. You don't have to take it to heart, otherwise I will be angry. Fuqiang pursed his lips. I know the master loves me, but people are born in sorrow and die in happiness. Chu Qinghuang sighed. This time is a warning to you, and also a warning to myself. Never ignore the hidden dangers around you at any time, but you don't have to go too far. Nervous, my nerves are tense all day long, making everyone on tenterhooks. Kang sat on the edge of the bed and stretched out his arms to hold Chu Huang in his arms. Whoever dares to have evil intentions towards you, I will make him pay the price. Chu Huang let him hold her quietly, feeling that it felt good to be cared for by someone. In fact, in this world, no matter whether it is a man or a woman, no matter how strong a person is, they cannot resist the tenderness and care from the one they love. Chu Huang is no exception. Thinking of her former lofty ambitions, Chu Huang spoke in a relaxed tone. At the beginning, I made an oath to be a queen who commands the power of the country. I don't want any love, and I will never indulge in tenderness and sweetness. Let all men in the world surrender to me. At your feet is the ambition that a queen should have. Kang was slightly surprised, and for a moment he thought her idea was great. Nuan has indeed made all the men in the world submit to her feet. But I still can't escape the influence of tenderness and sweetness. Chu Huang smiled. I once wanted to have 3,000 beauties in the harem, but you ruined them all. Kang was dissatisfied. I alone can't compare to 3,000 beauties. Of course it's not worth it. Chu Huang closed her eyes and imagined the scene surrounded by 3,000 beauties in her mind. Some are good at piano, some are good at chess, some are good at dancing, some are good at singing, and some are good at painting. As for the types, well, there can be a gentleman type, a romantic and suave type, a charming and seductive type, a cold and aloof type, and a charming and delicate young man type. With 3,000 beautiful men gathered together, there are absolutely all kinds of styles and manners. Listening to this, Kang actually began to fantasize about all the beautiful men she mentioned, and then said in a strange way, if Nuan really wants it, I can find all kinds of beautiful men in the world for you. Build a huge golden cage, and put them there all locked in a golden cage, only Nuan can watch. Chu Huang was surprised. Is this true? Seriously? Kang nodded, but they can only stay in the golden cage. Nuan is not allowed to get close to them. If you want to see whoever performs painting, you can bring out the one who is good at painting. If you want to see whoever dances, just pick out the one who is good at painting. Let Nuan watch the same talent every day, so you will feel fresh every day and won't get bored. Chu Huang didn't speak for a long time. What do you think of Nuan? You are so virtuous and generous. Chu Huang stepped back from his embrace. Kang, should I praise you? Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. After the divorce, the princess was forced to raise a sickly villain. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 564. Before Kang could speak, Yuanbao's announcement sounded outside. Your Majesty, the Fuying guards have brought Mr. Chu. Kang stood up and said, let them come in. Chu Chuan walked in quickly and was about to salute when he heard Kang say, let His Majesty take a pulse. Chu Chuan raised his eyes slightly, looked at Chu Huang who was leaning on the bed in the inner hall, and walked over quietly. Your Majesty, do you feel uncomfortable? There is no special feeling, Chu Huang said. I just accidentally discovered that someone gave a sachet to the maid of Changming Palace. There is a little musk in the sachet. Musk. Chu Chuan's expression changed, and he walked quickly to the bed. Regardless of etiquette, he stretched out his hand to explore Chu Huang's wrist. After a while, he slowly breathed a sigh of relief. It's nothing serious. However, if anyone dares to engage in such methods in Changming Palace, they are treasonous and seeking death. Chu Chuan turned to look at Kang. Aren't you the leader of the Dark Pavilion? Why would you let others take advantage of this? Kang was already feeling guilty and blaming himself, but when he questioned him, he didn't defend himself and just said, it's my fault. But Chu Huang spoke, it has nothing to do with him. Chuling Chuan pondered for a moment. Your Majesty, why don't you make me a servant, so that I can stay in the harem openly and take care of your Majesty's dragon body at any time? There is no need to make you a servant, Chu Qing Huang said. Let Yuan Bao arrange a place for you later. Just be closer to my palace. I am not a concubine in the harem, so I don't have to worry about whether men and women can be intimate with each other. Chuling Chuan thought for a while and felt that what she said made sense. Even if the king of a country wants to favor someone, he does not necessarily have to give him a title. There have been many examples of emperors favoring maids in the palace, not to mention that this is not considered a favor on his part. As long as His Majesty is taken care of to give birth to the prince safely, he can leave the palace with peace of mind. Although arranging trustworthy people to take care of you can make your Majesty and the imperial concubine feel at ease, in the end, it treats the symptoms rather than the root cause. Chuling Chuan frowned. If the doctors of the imperial hospital cannot gain your Majesty's new trust, we can only replace them one by one, but it is impossible to replace all the doctors in a short time. Studying medicine is a long and boring process, and only a handful of doctors are so skilled that they can be admitted to Thai hospital. It is simply unrealistic to replace them all. There is no need to replace it. Chu Qing Huang stood up and walked to the window, quietly looking at the pavilions and winding corridors outside. The doctors at the imperial hospital have good medical skills, and I don't distrust them. Only a few people are taking advantage of them. No need to total denial. What's more, no one knows that she has a special power. Although the superpower cannot eliminate 100% of dangers, at least when she is in front of someone, she can know whether the other person has different intentions. That's enough. But even a very small number can often bring unpredictable risks. Chuling Chuan disagreed with Chu Qing Huang's overly optimistic attitude. Your Majesty, it is better to be more careful. Chu Qing Huang turned her head and looked at him. I have a magic weapon to win. Chuling Chuan was slightly surprised. The magic weapon to win. Fuekang also looked at Chu Qing Huang curiously. He didn't know what the magic weapon she was talking about was. Isn't it referring to Angie's spy? The Ang has failed in its duty this time, and it really cannot afford the praise of the magic weapon to win. Buddha said, don't tell. Chu Qing Huang rarely whetted their appetites. This is a secret that belongs to me alone. Oh, it's a secret. Chuling Chuan was no longer curious. Since it was a secret, he certainly couldn't reveal it to others at will. But what kind of secret can His Majesty consider to be a magic weapon for victory? Fuekang also had such doubts in his heart. He looked at Chu Qing Huang with obvious suspicion in his eyes. He was the person closest to Nuan, but for such a long time, he had never found that Nuan had the so-called magic weapon to win. Isn't Nuan deceiving them? Chu Qing Huang looked at the eyes and expressions of the two people and calmly turned her head to look out the window. Obviously, she had no intention of satisfying their curiosity. Chuling Chuan did not hesitate to ask. After confirming that His Majesty's dragon body was fine, he quickly resigned and followed eunuch Yuan Bao to his temporary residence. Only Chu Qing Huang and Fuekang were left in the palace. After the divorce, the princess was forced to raise a sickly villain. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 565. The atmosphere in the bedroom was a bit subtle. Fuekang walked up, hugged Chu Qing Huang from behind, and said in a low voice, Nuan is hiding a secret from me. What if there is? Fuekang thought for a while. If Nuan wants to tell me, I am all ears. If Nuan doesn't want to tell me, I will never ask. Aren't you unhappy? Fuekang shook his head. No, Nuan was my master before, and no master has the obligation to tell the shadow guard his secrets. He has always been very clear about his identity. The past, present, and future are clear and distinct. This means that I am no longer your master, so I have secrets that I should share with you. That's not what I meant. Fuekang still shook his head. In my heart, the identity of the master will never change, but now another identity has been added, which makes me have to be doubly strong to better protect you. Chu Qinghuang's lips raised slightly. Actually, it's not that I can't tell you. But I'm worried that you might find it incredible after hearing it. Unbelievable. Fuqiang was puzzled. Why? Because no one can imagine it. It's unbelievable. Chu Qinghuang chuckled. You might as well use your brain and think about it yourself. If you really can't think of it, I'll tell you before going to bed tonight. She seemed to be deliberately making things mysterious, but Fuqiang was indeed intrigued. In fact, rather than being curious, he may be more concerned about whether the secret can really be used as a magic weapon to win. Maybe it does. Fuqiang recalled the scene where Chu Qinghuang asked the palace maid today. Without any warning, he seemed to have suddenly noticed her. What made Nuanuan notice that palace maid? Fuqiang determined that the amount of musk contained in the sachet was very small, and there was always incense in the emperor's palace. This kind of aroma was enough to cover up the little smell of musk. Did he just accidentally see the sachet on her body and then make a routine inquiry? Wrong. Fuqiang couldn't help but think about the past. Nuan seemed to have the ability to know many things in advance, and she trusted him very much from the beginning and never doubted his loyalty. Even if he left in the middle of the night, she didn't really blame him after she found out about it, but now that she thought about it, his actions were excusable, and she could guarantee that she was loyal and had no ulterior motives. Absence from duty should also be punished severely, and may even be regarded as malicious intent. But Nuan never argued with him. Besides, if Nuan trusts someone, she will trust him without any grudges or any doubts. For example, Prince Rong and his son. Fuqiang was seriously recalling the details that he had ignored in the past, analyzing them while recalling them. Chu Qinghuang was looking out the window, listening to his rich psychological activities with interest, and could not help but raise the corners of his mouth with a smile of pleasure. After her change of topic, Fuqiang's mood improved significantly. He no longer indulged in self-blame, and no longer thought about going to the dark pavilion to be punished. In the evening, after the two of them took a bath, they lay on the bed. Fuqiang's voice was gentle. I've been thinking about it for a long time, but I still can't figure out what magic weapon Nuan holds. Want to know? Fuqiang nodded. I think so. As soon as he finished speaking, he felt it was inappropriate. If Nuan doesn't want to say it, you don't have to say it. I won't keep asking. But you clearly want to know. Chu Qinghuang raised his eyebrows and smiled, but compared to the secret, you should be more interested in knowing whether my magic weapon can win, right? Fuqiang raised his eyes to look at her, nodded and said, yes. Chu Qinghuang coughed and said, guess again. Guess again? Fuqiang frowned, thinking about her words, and hesitated for a moment. Is it because Nuan can guess what I am thinking? Is this a tacit understanding? It stands to reason that it is normal for two people who are in love to understand each other's thoughts, Chu Qinghuang said calmly, but whether it is tacit understanding or understanding, they are only making rough judgments based on understanding each other. Such judgments are mostly accurate, but there is no guarantee of absolute accuracy. Fuqiang nodded thoughtfully. However, my judgment is absolutely correct. Fuqiang was surprised and looked at her without blinking for a long time. Then he suddenly sat up from the bed in shock. Nuan. It can make the leader of the Dark Pavilion change his face in shock. It seems that my winning weapon is really powerful, Chu Qinghuang said. Are you convinced? Fuqiang looked at Chu Qinghuang blankly. You what? After Fuqiang was stunned, he thought of some possibility, and an expression of disbelief appeared on his face. So, Nuan knows about some of the childish thoughts I had before. Childish thoughts? Chu Qinghuang calmly asked. Which kind of thoughts are childish? You can think about it for me. Fuqiang's face gradually turned red, and he suddenly wanted to dig a hole in the ground. $window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the princess was forced to raise a sickly villain. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 566. As a shadow guard who should be taciturn, Fu Kang used to talk very little, and of course, he didn't have that many mental activities. At first, he just occasionally thought about how he would die. Later, when the development of things was completely different from what he expected, he would have some doubts in his heart, or some wrong guesses. The reason why it was called wrong guesses was that the facts later proved that his guesses were wrong. Later, Fu Kang recalled every bit of his time with his master. Those long-lost memories are now irrelevant. The important thing is that after establishing a relationship with his master, did he think about things he shouldn't think about? Did he have some thoughts that went beyond the limit? Did he have any unreasonable thoughts that were enough to be tortured to death at that time? The answer is yes. Fu Kang sat on the bed and couldn't help thinking, should he find a place where no one was tonight to reflect on himself? No wonder the master always said that he was interesting and sometimes cute, but he really couldn't figure out what was interesting and cute about him. That's it? Fu Kang moaned softly and raised his hand to rub his face. He felt incredible and messy. Can you hear other people's thoughts? Fu Kang pondered. This is indeed a magic weapon to win. He can answer the prisoners accurately. No matter how the prisoners shout, the answers in their hearts will not lie. However, he soon thought of the time when the emperor was in power. The queen mother, the queen, concubine Duan, and all the princes and princesses were more or less hostile to the master. Concubine Duan, the biological mother, did not regard the master as a daughter at all. The master would be very sad, right? Oh, no. Nuan's biological father is the master, and her biological mother is the master's wife. The master and the master's wife really love this daughter and pamper her in their hearts. It doesn't matter whether those insignificant people like or hate her. Thinking of this, the tight heart slowly let go. Fu Kang sighed faintly. After thinking about it, he still felt that this ability was a bit mysterious. How can the thoughts in my mind be heard by others without making any sound? Chu Qing Huang supported her chin with one hand and looked at him quietly. It seems that you have thought of the correct answer. Fu Kang raised his eyes, his gaze was subtle. Chu Qing Huang raised her lips and smiled. How does it feel? Very wonderful. Fu Kang frowned. Does this mean that I can't hide from Nuan? All my thoughts in my heart can't be hidden from Nuan. Well, what kind of superpower is this? Mind reading. Chu Qing Huang said leisurely, the word peek is not used well. Fu Kang changed the word, mind reading. Chu Qing Huang shook her head, it's better to call it mind listening. Oh, yes, it should be listening instead of watching. Fu Kang nodded, agreeing with Chu Qing Huang's statement, but it means the same thing. Chu Qing Huang nodded, yeah. It feels a little unreal. Fu Kang wiped his face. Can Nuan hear everyone's thoughts? Not necessarily, Chu Qing Huang said, maybe the thoughts of the closest people can't be heard. Fu Kang said, I'm not Nuan's closest person. Indeed not. Chu Qing Huang pinched his face, you are my sweetheart, my beloved. Fu Kang's handsome face was slightly red, but the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up, thinking silently in his heart, Nuan is also my beloved. Aren't you angry? Angry? Fu Kang was puzzled, what are you angry about? Angry that I have been hiding it from you and secretly listening to your thoughts. Fu Kang was silent for a moment, and slowly shook his head. If it is because of this special ability that makes Nuan Nuan find me interesting, and then promotes the relationship between us that is stronger than gold, I think this is my luck. At that moment, Chu Qing Huang felt that a soft spot in her heart was deeply touched. Compared to her complete control over Fu Kang's willingness to hand over his fate, loyalty, and emotional dominance to her is more moving. I really think I am lucky. Fu Kang stretched out his hand and held Chu Qing Huang in his arms, his voice soft and full of relief. If Nuan Nuan didn't have such an ability, how could someone as dull and boring as me attract Nuan Nuan? Chu Qing Huang thought for a while. At least you still have a good-looking face. After the divorce, the princess was forced to raise a sickly villain. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 567. That's true. Fu Kang originally didn't like the identity of the Prince of Yangguo. Firstly, he had never lived in Yangguo. The Shadow Guard's understanding was different from ordinary people, and he didn't have the feeling of being ecstatic after knowing his life experience. Secondly, he had never lived in Yangguo. He didn't want to leave Chu Qinghuang's side, no matter in any capacity or for any reason. So when he first learned about his life experience, he rejected the identity of Prince of Yangguo from the bottom of his heart. But at this moment, he was grateful to Yangguo for giving him such a beautiful face. Yan Kingdom has a small territory and weak national power, but it is a geomantic treasure land for beauties. Chu Qinghuang sighed, and her eyes fell on his face. Your face is fortunate to be a shadow guard. If you had grown up in Yan Kingdom, it's hard to say that it was given to someone as a gift by the ambitious northern Xinjiang royal family. The most important thing is that she found that Fu Kang's mentality is really stable. This is probably the biggest advantage of Shadow Guard. He is not easily tempted by fame and fortune. His disadvantage is that he is stubborn, does not know how to adapt, and is prone to low self-esteem in the early stage. But it's pretty good now. When Fu Kang heard Chu Qinghuang's words, he frowned slightly and couldn't help but guess, if we are destined, there is no way I will be delivered to you in the end. Chu Qinghuang raised his eyebrows. Really? Fu Kang said with a smile, I am destined to belong to Nuan Nuan. Chu Qinghuang felt it made sense and nodded slowly. Speaking of this, she couldn't help but think of Fu Kang's father, the father who only had blood ties but no emotions. The Yan Kingdom does produce beauties. When Fu Kang's father was given to Xiejin, luckily Xiejin already had someone he liked, otherwise he would have been destroyed by someone. If this is the case, where will Fu Kang still exist 30 years later? Therefore, the fate that is destined to exist cannot be escaped no matter what. You go to sleep for a while. Fu Kang stood up. I'm going to see the results of Fu Ying's investigation. Chu Qinghuang hummed, come back early. Yes. Don't abuse yourself. Chu Qinghuang warned, if you dare to disobey me, you will be thrown into the cold palace and you will not be allowed to set foot in Changming Palace for 3 years. Fu Kang's expression paused slightly and he looked at her innocently. Nuan Nuan is teaching me to evade responsibility. This is teaching you to be obedient and be an obedient little wolf cub. Chu Qinghuang said, don't resist my words. An obedient little wolf cub. Fu Kang thought about this statement, feeling strange and sweet for a moment. He couldn't help but want to correct, Nuan Nuan, everyone knows that wolves are the most ferocious and bloodthirsty animals. What? Chu Qinghuang knocked on his forehead, do you want to rebel? Don't dare. Fu Kang grabbed her hand and kissed it. You rest first, I'll be back soon. After saying that, he added, I won't abuse myself, don't worry Nuan Nuan. Chu Qinghuang hummed before letting him leave. After Fu Kang left, Chu Qinghuang leaned on the bedside alone, enjoying the quiet atmosphere and thinking about the whole story. The Queen Mother was trapped in the palace. There were informants outside her palace, so there was no chance of arranging these dirty tricks. Besides, King Xian was demoted to a commoner and was imprisoned. Although he was not allowed to be free, at least his life was safe. Princess Xian, Princess Yu, lives a quiet life with her child. Even though she is not as prosperous and wealthy as before, she still has enough food and clothing. If it was really their fault, he would have stepped into the gate of hell. So they are unlikely. Chu Tianyan is dead. Chu Tianzheng and concubine Duan also lost their power and were imprisoned. Concubine Duan's mother clan has no one. Who sent this newly promoted imperial doctor? Your Majesty. Yuan Bao walked in and stood outside the dragon screen with his eyebrows lowered. Do you need more water? Chu Qinghuang came back to her senses. No need. Yes. My servant transferred Ying'er to the clothing bureau. Does your Majesty think it's okay? Chu Qinghuang said, ask her to come over. Yes. Yuan Bao ordered people to pass on Ying'er. Ying'er, who had just been punished, turned pale with fright when she heard the summons, but she didn't dare to delay at all. She hurried over and was about to kneel down when she heard the majestic voice of Her Majesty the Queen, come in. Ying'er answered yes and walked into the inner hall with her head lowered. What kind of person is the young imperial physician who is talking to you? Ying'er froze in panic, thought for a moment, and then replied tremblingly, He is very good looking, slave, I have never seen this before. How old are you? 2, around 20. Think about what he looks like. Looks. Nervously, Ying'er tried hard to recall the appearance of the imperial doctor in her mind. She had a handsome and delicate face with sharp eyebrows and sharp eyes. He has a gentle smile that makes people lose their guard easily. But when you don't smile, you feel aloof and cold. Ying'er hesitated. He has black hair, and he feels very deep. Okay. Chu Qinghuang waved his hand, please step back. Ying'er felt uneasy, not sure if His Majesty was dissatisfied with what she said, but she didn't dare to say anything more and just bowed politely and left. Chu Qinghuang frowned impatiently, she probably knew who it was. After the divorce, the princess was forced to raise a sickly villain. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 568. Sure enough, the news brought back by Fukang confirmed her judgment. The imperial doctor is missing. Fukang's face was very cold, as if he was about to kill someone at any time. I have asked Fu Ying to lead people to chase him, but the chance of catching him should be low. The culprit had escaped long ago, and even the doctors didn't know who he was because he was not a doctor at all. Chu Qinghuang raised his eyebrows, is it Dong Lingchen's fault? Fukang was slightly surprised, Nuan knows it's him. I guessed it. Chu Qinghuang said calmly, if you rule it out, you will know that the Queen Mother and Princess Duan have no chance to take action. Even if they did, they would not be able to escape Angie's eyes. The only people who have the ability to do it, the only person responsible for this matter is Dong Lingchen, a half-full bucket of water. He was able to sneak into the palace during the selection process, and it shouldn't be difficult to sneak into the Imperial Hospital. Of course, his goal was not to enter the Imperial Hospital and become an Imperial physician, but to do something with his status as an Imperial physician. This is what he left behind. Fukang handed Chu Qinghuang a letter. He said he had no ill intentions and that the amount of musk used was very small and would not cause harm to His Majesty. Chu Qinghuang took the letter and read it. Dong Lingchen, this boring magician, was really full. The reason why he did this was just to test her alertness and the ability of the secret chamber. Chu Qinghuang frowned, is he living a too comfortable life and wants to taste what it's like to be hunted down? Probably so. Fukang's voice was cold, I will pull out 50 people from the Eng and track him all over the world, and then ask the master to send some masters from the Juxiao pavilion down the mountain. The world is so big, and all the Jus who, there will be no chance of him hideout. Chu Qinghuang smashed the note, okay, go to sleep. It's not worth raising an army for a magic stick. Fukang snorted and began to calculate Dong Lingchen's death date in his mind. That magician has no other abilities, but he is good at making trouble. Fukang went to wash up, and soon came over wearing only a white coat, quietly got on the bed, and held Chu Ching Huang in his arms. "I was scared today, give me a warm hug." The style of painting changes. Chu Ching Huang was speechless for a while. "Are you scared?" Fu Kang nodded, "Yes." "Need comfort?" Fu Kang continued to nod, "Yes." Chu King Huang's voice was casual, "How do you want me to comfort you? Didn't Nuan tell me to eat meat tonight?" Chu Ching Huang frowned, "When did I say that?" Fu Kang insisted, "I told you." Chu Ching Huang snorted, "Didn't you also say that you were going to the dark pavilion to receive the punishment?" "I said it, but Nuan doesn't allow it, so I don't dare to go." Fu Kang was very obedient. "I will admit what others have said openly, but I will not admit what Nuan has said." Chu Ching Huang said lazily, "What did I say that I didn't admit to?" "Open meat." "Really?" Chu Ching Huang snorted coldly, then pushed him down on the bed and ordered domineeringly, "Take off your clothes." Fu Kang lay on the bed and was quiet for a while. The corners of his lips raised, and he looked at Chu Ching Huang with a smile on his face. Nuan, are you asking the overlord to force his bow? I want to destroy the flowers with my own hands." Fu Kang blinked, "Who is Hua?" "What do you think?" Chu Ching Huang patted his forehead, "You are not allowed to seduce me, and you are not allowed to pretend to be innocent." "I'm not a flower," Fu Kang corrected, stretched out his hand and began to unbutton his clothes. His movements were slow and full of temptation. "Didn't Nuan say that I am a docile wolf cub? Then I will force the wolf cub into trouble." Fu Kang chuckled, "I don't think this is fair." "Why isn't it fair?" Nuan can know what I'm thinking at any time, but I don't know what Nuan is thinking in her heart." Fu Kang stood up and took off his white shirt, then lay down on the bed again, looking at Chu with a charming look. "Ching Huang, Nuan wants to be hard on me, so I have to cooperate, but if I dare to do this dash." "Don't you want to cooperate?" Chu Ching Huang raised his eyebrows and looked like he was very talkative. "You can raise any opinions you have. I am a tolerant king. I know that forceful melons are not sweet, and I will never violate them. Things that other people want." Fu Kang choked, "That's not what I meant." "What do you mean?" Fu Kang chuckled and raised his hand to pull her down. "It means that a spring night is worth 1,000 gold, so we can't waste the good night." Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article feed, placement, below article feed, target. Type, mix. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the princess was forced to raise a sickly villain. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 569. Although these things were just a prank, they still left a shadow on Fu Kang. In the following days, he really kept an eye on all sides and listened to all directions. He stayed with the queen every day. In addition to taking care of her diet, reviewing memorials, and handling important government affairs, the palace was always on guard. More and more weddings were held in the imperial city. Chu Ching Huang only listened to people's reports every day. For example, Chu Xuanyi, a close minister who was also a royal noble, she would issue an order to give a sufficiently generous gift. If an official's son got married, it would be treated differently according to the closeness and ability. Because of her physical inconvenience, in order not to worry those around her, Chu Ching Huang cancelled all forms of banquets in the palace, and the palace seemed much quieter. As time passed, Chu King Huang's abdomen was obviously bulging. After safely passing the 3-month dangerous period, Fu Kang finally breathed a sigh of relief. After Chu Ling Chuan took the pulse every time, his relaxed and calm expression was the most reassuring reaction. In winter, the inner court made 2 new fur cloaks for the empress and the emperor's husband. Fu Kang was not keen on warm clothes. He was used to wearing black clothes and tight clothes all year round. Even though he became the emperor's husband, many habits did not change completely. Changing the tight clothes into robes was the greatest respect for this status. He was not very happy to wear a cloak every day like those weak nobles. However, this habit was soon changed at the request of Chu Qinghuang. It snowed in the 12th lunar month, and everything was white and beautiful. Her Majesty wanted to go to the imperial garden to enjoy the snow scenery. Fu Kang put on the white cloak and held Her Majesty horizontally. The cloak tightly wrapped the person in his arms. Entering the warm pavilion in the imperial garden, the pens, inkstones, and inkstones were neatly placed on the long table. Her Majesty sat in the warm pavilion, enjoying the snow scenery and reviewing the memorials. There was also a gentle and considerate handsome man by her side. This life was simply better than a fairy. Chu Qinghuang put down the red brush and was about to raise her hand to rub her neck, when a pair of slender and strong hands behind her took the initiative to pinch her shoulders and neck, from the temples to the center of the eyebrows, from the shoulders and neck to the back, every part was meticulous. Fu Kang, Her Majesty's eyes fell on the slightly open window, and her lazy voice sounded, "The weather is really good today." The bright sunshine shone on the snow, and everywhere was pure and dazzling. Although such a sun would make the snow melt faster, who would not like such warm sunlight? It was so comfortable that it made people lazy all over. Yes, Fu Kang agreed, the weather is indeed good. The scenery in the imperial garden is beautiful, the snow is beautiful, and the sunlight is beautiful. Chu Qinghuang smiled, if there are a few handsome men around at this moment, I can paint, play the piano, and make tea, it is simply the greatest happiness in life. Fu Kang nodded calmly, Your Majesty is right. Chu Qinghuang hooked him from behind and laid him on her legs with one hand. She lowered her head to admire his handsome face and kissed him. It's useless to just say it, you have to show it with actual actions. Fu Kang lay on her legs obediently, like a little husband, I am Your Majesty's person, Your Majesty can do whatever you want. I'm talking about handsome men. All the handsome men in the world are Your Majesty, as long as Your Majesty wants. Fu Kang turned his body sideways, put his arm around her waist, and put his face on her bulging belly. The baby is protesting in the belly. Protesting what? Fu Kang smiled, she said she only wanted a father. Chu Qinghuang chuckled, can you hear what she said? Of course. Fu Kang sighed, this is my little cotton padded jacket. Chu Qinghuang was silent, do you want a daughter? Fu Kang said, both boys and girls are fine. It's probably because I'm pregnant these days that I always have wild thoughts. Chu Qinghuang said, one moment I want a son, I always think that boys are thick-skinned and tough, and can withstand pressure. The next moment I hope to have a daughter, so that the status of women in Ziki can be improved. The two thoughts are turning around, which makes people distressed. I have a way to solve this trouble. What is it? Let's have more children. Fu Kang turned his head and looked out the window. Whoever is capable will be supported to ascend the throne as emperor, regardless of gender. Chu Qinghuang said, are you responsible for giving birth? Fu Kang said, I'm responsible for raising them. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. After the divorce, the princess was forced to raise a sickly villain. Author, Nan Huang. Chapter 570. On the 20th day of the 12th lunar month, Prince Rong entered the palace and asked to see Her Majesty the Queen. After hearing the purpose of his visit, Chu Qinghuang was quite surprised. Marriage. Prince Rong nodded, Yun Yao is already 17 years old, and she will become an old girl if she delays any longer. Therefore, the minister and the princess have been choosing a suitable husband for her for the past 2 months. Chu Qinghuang was silent for a moment. Why do you like Wen Zhan? First of all, he was the second in last year's rankings. He has outstanding talents and good looks. He deserves to be praised as a young talent. Secondly, he is someone who is highly valued by His Majesty. His conduct is naturally impeccable. Your Majesty has checked it in advance, Wang Chinayan said. Thirdly, Wen Zhan himself has a good temper. I am an official in the same dynasty as him, so I know everything about him. I am not worried that Yunyao will suffer a loss after marrying him. Chu Qinghuang nodded slowly. That makes sense. But his background is a bit incompatible. Since ancient times, if the son of a poor family becomes the #1 scholar, the emperor often marries the princess. What's more, Wen Zhan has now become the Minister of Household Affairs, and his status is not low. Chu Qinghuang smiled lightly. It seems that the emperor came well prepared. I don't dare, King Rong said humbly. Although there are many men of the right age in the entire imperial city, I have been picking and choosing, and there are not many that are really suitable for Yunyao. This daughter of yours has a simple temperament and no scheming. It is not suitable for the complicated family. I decided on Wen Zhan after several considerations and careful consideration. Chu Qinghuang thought for a while. What is Yunyao's attitude? King Rong replied, marriage is a matter of parents' order and the matchmaker's words. Yunyao has no objection to it. So, she also readily agreed. Chu Qinghuang was confident in her heart and was secretly thinking about Wen Zhan and Yunyao. In fact, she did not expect that Prince Rong would make such a decision. After all, she was a prince of the royal family, and Yunyao was the legitimate daughter of Prince Rong. No matter what, he should be paired with a serious young master from an aristocratic family. But after much thought, Chu Qinghuang couldn't find anyone who was superior to Wen Zhan in 3 aspects: knowledge, appearance, and character. I know this matter well, Chu Qinghuang said calmly. Uncle, please go back first. I will have someone call Wen Zhan into the palace to ask his opinion. Yes. I retire. After King Rong left, Chu Qinghuang quickly sent someone to pass on Wen Zhan. Prince Rong has discernment. Fukang came over with a cup of tea and handed it to Chu Qinghuang. The temperament of the princess of Prince Rong's mansion is simpler than that of the legitimate daughter of an ordinary family, and she is not suitable for marrying into an official with many wives and concubines. Family. Chu Qinghuang glanced at him. It seems that you understand his thoughts very well. You can try to guess and analyze, Fukang said. This is also the judgment and inference ability that an imperial husband should have. Chu Qinghuang took a sip of tea and said, as the daughter of Prince Rong's palace, no one in the emperor dares to bully her. Fukang nodded, but even if her future husband-in-law and mother-in-law do not dare to bully her because of the power of Prince Rong's palace, she will not be happy if she is in a complicated environment. Chu Qinghuang was actually convinced by him and smiled. Well, I'll just assume you are right. The complicated environment of an official family with many wives and concubines is only one aspect. There is also a more important reason. Can Nuan remember her previous evaluation of the princes of the imperial family? Fukang raised her lips. Nuan once said that the imperial city none of the legitimate sons of the major families can catch your eye. Chu Qinghuang said nothing, but she did say so. Okay, she understood what Fukang meant. Since she couldn't even look down on the legitimate son of the imperial city family, how could Prince Rong look down on him? What's more, what King Rong really considers is not those who are reliable or unreliable, but his low-key character. Wen Zhan is alone, does not form any cliques for personal gain, does not form cliques, does not have close contacts with powerful officials in the DPRK, and his appearance, knowledge, and conduct are all up to par. Such an outstanding young official means maximum security and will not easily arouse the emperor's suspicion. King Rong, who had a deep city and was good at protecting himself wisely, probably thought about it countless times and chose Wen Zhan to make him feel at ease. Chu Qing Huang slowly leaned towards the brocade couch. People often say that accompanying the emperor is like accompanying a tiger. At the feet of the emperor, in the imperial capital, dignitaries enjoy the ultimate glory and wealth in the world, but they are also faced with the risk of confiscating their homes and annihilating their clans at any time, especially they are the nobles of the royal family and powerful officials in the court, as if I have a guillotine in my hand, waiting to chop their heads off at any time. Extreme wealth means extreme risks, and now, Chu Qing Huang has deeply experienced this feeling of being on the edge of the cliff from King Rong. She doesn't like killing people, and she thinks she's broad-minded and won't eradicate dissidents at every turn, and she doesn't like to be willful and jealous of loyal ministers. But it was obvious that no matter how tolerant she was, the ministers still felt that the emperor's heart was unpredictable and he was always walking on thin ice. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix.